All right, I think we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for attending this afternoon. We are deep into October, which is North Carolina's countdown to college. This week is college application week, which means that a lot of our students are working on their applications and especially the ones that have the fee waivers this week for college application week. So we have a good little bit to talk about here this afternoon. I'm going to talk to you about just some basics to make sure you know what countdown to college is and college application week, as well as where to go and how to kind of get through your application and some tips to help you as well. And you guys are welcome to send questions over in the chat, and I will address those as I can. And then when the formal part of the presentation is over, which will be about half of this, you guys are welcome to unmute and ask questions that way as well. So if you don't mind otherwise staying muted just while I'm giving this part, that would be great. This presentation is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be sent out to everyone who registered for this program within the next week or so. And then please check emails. We'll be sending out an assessment this afternoon or tomorrow as well. If you guys wouldn't mind, we love feedback on how we can help students better and more each and every year. Okay? So once again, feel free to put questions in the chat, and then you'll have a chance to unmute soon as well. All right, so what is Countdown to College? Let's start at the beginning. So Countdown to College, which is what we consider October to be here in North Carolina, is our statewide initiative that's sponsored by College Foundation North Carolina. We have programming all month for students. Week one, we had a focus on career exploration and making sure that you all have done some research and thinking about what your career is going to be as it relates to what your major is going to be before you work on those college applications, as a lot of those choices can affect where you are interested in applying. We also had a focus on week two, which was last week, on the FAFSA form and RDS, which is Residency and Termination Service. FAFSA and RDS are two huge parts of the college admissions process. The third part, of course, being those applications, and that's where we are at this year. We have been doing programs like this since 2005 for the state. And fun fact, North Carolina was the first state to offer a college application week, and now all the other states are taking part in that as well. So we're very proud of that initiative here in North Carolina. This is college application week. It started yesterday. It goes through 11:59 Friday night, so it goes through Friday, and that means that a lot of the colleges are waiving fees. You can find that list at cfnc.org/C2C. I encourage you all to take a look as you are considering the colleges that you want to apply to this week. You very likely will want to focus on any institutions that are waiving their fees this week. I encourage you to get your applications done before Friday night, as if you have any struggles, something isn't working right, there won't be a ton of assistance for you with us or at your college. Nobody will be working Friday night. So we encourage you to get going on those applications now. And we will have this session again Thursday night at 6 o'clock, where we will also have some Spanish language assistance. And then next week, we have more programs on I Applied, Now What? So you've done residency and or FAFSA and or applications. Now what's going to happen? So we're going to talk a little bit about that next week. Okay? CFNC.org/events is where you can go to register for all of these programs we have this month. You will also find information at cfnc.org/CCC. There's a section for students, there's a section for schools. So some good information there for you as we proceed through this month. So once again, this week is College Application Week. If you are looking at any of the community colleges across North Carolina, keep in mind that they don't ever charge fees. However, we encourage you to work on those applications this week as well. It's a good time to just focus on all of this as we go through October. Most of the colleges and universities across North Carolina will accept the SAT, ACT, and NATAC fee waiver. So in case you are applying to an institution that is not waiving fees this week, but you feel like you might qualify for a fee waiver, make sure that you are communicating with your school counselor or your college advisor, and they can help you with these fee waivers. And once again, please visit cfnc.org/CCC to find a list of those college waiving fees, as well as other bits of information about Countdown to College. So let's talk a little bit about the applications, where you're going to go to find them. This is going to be on a few of the slides that I talk about, but I can't say this enough. Make sure that you are starting on cfnc.org. extremely important. This is a CFNC initiative. It's our organization, not another organization. So please make sure you are starting those applications on CFNC, especially if it is an institution that is waiving fees this week. That is vital to be on CFNC.org, okay? So I just wanted to say that. So keep in mind, you need to have a CFNC account. So I'm going to work you through doing those applications this week on CFNC.org. So that's great. I heard her say, we need to have this information and we need to go to CFNC, but where do we go? So you will want to start by logging in. If you don't have a CFNC account, you will want to start by making a CFNC account. Some of you may have already done RDS, Residency Determination Service, so you may have already done that. Your username and password that you created for RDS is your same login for CFNC.org. Same username, same password, okay? If for some reason you can't remember your login to CFNC, there is an option to do forgot username, or you can do forgot password, or you can do both, okay? And so once you are into your CFNC account, you will go to the application hub, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then you will click on Apply to College, and all of the institutions in North Carolina are there. Keep in mind that you can start an application, save it, come back to it later. So you have some different options, especially if you are working on your application, perhaps in class or in the media center at your high school, wherever it might be, and you get to that essay part perhaps, and you want to finish with that, you can save your application, okay? And then you can finish it at home or finish it once you have that essay finalized. Just again, making sure that if it is an institution waiving their fee this week, make sure that you finish it by Friday night. It's extremely important. So this is a snapshot of CFNC.org. Up in the top right-hand corner, you will see an orange where it says log in. You can click there to get started, and that's where you'll log in or create an account or do forgot username, forgot password. And when you're done with that, you're going to go straight to the Apply to College section, okay? And once again, this slide says to make sure that you are starting on CFNC.org. Very important, okay? So once you're on CFNC, you're going to click on Apply to College. And within there, you're going to see the application hub. There's a little lock on it because you do have to be logged in order to work on this section. The reason you have to be logged in is so that you can save your application and come back later. You have that progress date. So that's how you've got to be logged in. That's what that little lock means, okay? So once you go into the application hub, you will see on the right side of the screen an area where you can click to start an application. You'll see all the institutions in our state in order alphabetized. Or if you've started an application and you're just trying to finish it, you'll just see that right in front of you and you can click resume, okay? So this is a couple of snapshots from the application feature on our site, okay? So ignore what it says here for the year, this might be for a specific institution, but essentially the idea is you will see the different page names down the left, and then you have these open circles, okay? The open circles mean that that page is not finished, okay? So you'll see on this very first page here, there is a little check mark, and that is important. That is important for you to know which pages you have finished and not finished, okay? And I know that there might be some questions coming through in the chat. I'm going to stop in a minute and kind of take a break and see if I can help answer those, and then we'll kind of resume here. So it's easy for students to see if they have finished that page or not. In addition, each section that you go through, so you can see this is accordion style, so there is a little negative sign or a dash here that says enrollment terms, and it says asterisk indicates required field. So anything that has an asterisk is required. If you do not answer and try to go on to the next page, it should show you in red, hey, we can't let you go on for whatever reason. This is the section that didn't get finished, okay? So students will want to make sure that they read the question and then answer it. Okay? A lot of it is very self-explanatory. You just have to make sure that you are kind of thoroughly and fully reading whatever the question might be. Okay? You will see some questions, just for some other good tips, you will see some questions on there for seniors, such as when are you graduating? So, when are you done with high school? What is your last day? Students, please note that that says MM, which stands for the month, and it tells you the MM means that it's 2 digits. And then it'll say year with 4 digits. You don't have to put the exact day that you're graduating. So if you're a senior, you're probably graduating June 2023, so that will be 06-2023. Okay? You may see a question that asks when you started high school. If you're a senior, you started in fall of 2019, and so that will typically be 08-2019. Okay, so a lot of these questions are pretty good as far as just self-explanatory, and try to give you some tips in the in the answer there, okay? So make sure that you're paying attention to those round circles and that you have check marks on CFNC that will show you that that section or that page is finished, okay? If for some reason you are going to need to finish your application later, make sure that you hit save. It's just like creating a paper and having a Word document open, right? Save it, don't lose it, that will make us all cry. And then when you're done, make sure that you are logging out of CFNC. It's just really important, for security reasons, just to make sure that you log out, especially if it's a shared computer. Now, you will find that some college applications are linked. And this is a good, I think there's a question coming through in the chat related to this. So you will see that some campuses are linked. So what that means is that that application or that college in North Carolina has a very specific method that they want you to use to apply to college. So that might be on the college's website, or that might be through Common App. Okay. The best way for you to find out if that's a linked campus, that's what we call them, links. That means that we link you to the method they want you to use to apply on CFNC. So we'll link you there. If it's an institution that is waiving fees this week, I highly encourage you to start on CFNC, because we will direct you to the method that they have told us that they want you to use this week. So if it's an institution that is waiving fees this week and it's a linked campus, please make sure that you still start on CFNC, go to said application, and then we will say, okay, this is a linked application. You will say, I understand at the bottom, and then it will link you to wherever that institution has asked for that week. I have someone who's saying it's audio. Let me put this a little closer. Is that any better? Can you all hear me better? Put it over in the chat. Can you all hear me? I'll put it in the chat. Can you hear me better? Didn't improve. Oh. Did that improve at all? Background noise. I have no background noise. That's really interesting. It's completely quiet here. You could hear a pin drop on the ground. Let's see. Slightly muffled. Maybe I have the volume turned up too high. Sometimes that happens. It just sounds muffled. Any better now, or the same? Just everyone knows this is being recorded, and this part will be in the recording. Is that any better? Anyone? No. Okay. A little better. Okay. Well, I will try and talk more clearly and slower and hold the microphone kind of close to me. And I do think turning the volume down actually helped. It helped a little bit, I think, turning the volume down. It was up too high. Okay. So let's talk about those linked campuses a little more. So like I said, the linked campuses are the ones that that college has asked that the application be linked out to something specific. So some of those colleges specifically want to use Common App, or they specifically want you to apply off from their website. Okay? And so we have those campuses linked out. So one thing is, if it's an institution that's waiving fees this week, make sure that you are starting on CFNC still, because if that institution says we want, we're going to have that fee waiver section, but they're going to have to do it off from Common App, which, by the way, is not us at all, then we will direct you to the right place. So that's why it's really important. So you do have access to those linked applications. I will say that if you are an educator on here this afternoon, if they just keep in mind that if they are applying through a different website, like Common App, if you are in Pro Tools running a report on where students are applying, it's not going to show up because they use a different website. So just as an FYI. Also, if you are applying to a linked campus, you can still send your high school transcript through CFNC. So that will be done in that application hub. And so you can still send your transcripts. These are official high school transcripts. One will get sent then, and then a final transcript will be sent after senior grades are posted. Okay. So I'm going to take just a second and look at the chat. There's a question here, how do you know if they prefer through Common App or CFNC? So in general, colleges do not care how you apply. Doesn't matter at all, as long as you have the application in, you're doing everything by the deadline, you're providing them all of the application materials that they may need, like the essay, like the transcript. So they don't really, for the most part, colleges don't care. Most colleges don't care where you apply. So that doesn't really matter. If you go on to apply to a college off from CFNC and we link you somewhere else, then that's the place where they're telling us to link you out to for that application. But there's a few other third-party sites that are offering applications now. You're going to find the same fees, you're going to find that kind of stuff. So it really doesn't matter. It might matter for counselors when they're doing their reporting on where students are applying, but for students, it really does not matter, okay? So there is a question that came through that said, are there any colleges that are linked to the Common App with CFNC, or would a student need to start a CFNC account to apply? So I think we went through the answer to that question. I think that one came through before we talked about this slide. So for college application week specifically, students really do need to, do this on CFNC. Okay. Let's see, anything else? Okay, so there's another question. It appears that going through CFNC, you have to put in an application for every school, but Common App, you enter your information at one time. They are extremely different. Keep in mind, too, that Common App is a national platform that colleges pay to have their application on. And there's a handful of colleges in North Carolina that use Common App. There's not many. We have 110 colleges in our state, and so a pretty small percentage use Common App. If you'd rather apply to college off from Common App, that's fine to do. I did work with some students this morning in a high school for college application week. And those students, when they came in, the first thing I would ask is, where are you wanting to apply to today? And if a student says, I want to apply to my local community college and I'm looking to apply to ECU, UNC Pembroke, and Campbell. Well, let's go ahead and work on those applications off from CFNC, because ECU is an example of an institution that's waiving fees this week, but only if you do it on cfnc.org. And so they are really different. On CFNC, you will find that some of the fields are pre-populated once you do one application. So again, this morning I had a student apply to their local community college first, and then we applied to a four-year institution that's waiving fees, and they found that a good portion of it was pre-populated. So it went a lot faster than that first one did. So they are different. And so let's go through a few more slides, and then I'll come back over to the chat, okay? So those electronic transcripts on CFNC, keep in mind that you can send as many as you need to colleges in North Carolina, and it's free to do, and it's very easy. So you will check a box, essentially. And like I said before, they will go to the college. It's pretty quick, a day or two, they're available electronically to the institution, and then institutions upload those on their own at various times. So if you send a transcript tonight, and then you call the college tomorrow because on your platform, the institution's platform, their login, whatever it is, it says, pending or waiting still, and you call and have a heart attack and say, I sent it last night. That doesn't mean that it's magically shown up on someone's computer screen, okay? So just because you sent it doesn't mean they officially have it, into their, that they've marked yes in your file that they have it. Usually, it takes a day or two for it to arrive, and then they need to upload it. Some institutions upload transcripts daily, some do it weekly, so it just depends. A big thing that students need to keep in mind is that every college has admissions counselors, and these admissions counselors have geographical areas. So no matter where you live, okay, everyone on here should be from North Carolina, but it doesn't matter, even nationally. So, but no matter where you live across North Carolina, you will have an admissions counselor who is your counselor. You need to go onto the college's website, go into the admissions section, look around. They usually have their counselors listed, and then what their territory is. If you have any questions at all about the applications, about transcripts, about, I reread my essay and I left the word "the" in there and it shouldn't have been, but I love your school and I really want to come, is this going to stop everything? Probably not. But you can always reach out to the counselor and ask questions. They love hearing from you, okay? And again, keep in mind that the transcripts are student initiated, so students are the ones that need to send that along. And you can do that by checking a box as part of your application, or by going into the application hub and sending it that way, okay? So as I said before, it should be received by the college in 1 to 2 business days. That's Monday through Friday. Okay, so if you send it today, today's Tuesday, it'll be available for them to upload tomorrow or Thursday. Okay, and also on CFNC, once you send your transcript, you can go into your dashboard and keep track of the status. So completed means that it has successfully been delivered electronically to the campus, and at that point, just waiting for them to upload it. Okay, and you have to make sure the information in PowerSchool is correct. I had another conversation with a student about that this morning. Making sure that whatever is in PowerSchool from whenever you registered for for school in general for K-12 is correct. So you might want to log into PowerSchool and just make sure that stuff's right too. Okay. So a few things that you want to consider as you go through this, and I will take a look at the chat again in just a minute. Okay. So make sure you're starting at CFNC, especially for those colleges waiving fees this week. Think about where you're going to apply. Do they have your major? This goes back to our week 1 of Countdown to College, considering your career and what you want to do. You can choose undecided. All of these applications will have a place where you can list what you think you're going to major in. That is not set in stone. That is not declaring a major officially. That is letting the institution know an area that you might be interested in. Okay, and they do that for different reasons. They might do that to provide you with some scholarship information you can apply for. They might do that because if every student in North Carolina suddenly wants to go to blank school into their engineering program, they are going to have to really limit because they only have so many classrooms and instructors, right? So they're trying to kind of get a feel for what that incoming class might look like. Your school specifically may have some school-wide activities that are happening this week, this month. So make sure that you're paying attention to any activities that are happening and anything that you can go to face-to-face or virtually, okay? Including a lot of the schools across North Carolina are allowing students out of class into like the media center, for example, and have some volunteers there from local colleges and counselors there to help you with all of this. Okay. We also have a bunch of FAQs on our website. This is the link, and you also just can go to cfnc.org, go to the apply section where we have been talking about this entire program, and there's some really good FAQs in there. So some of the FAQ topics might be you have questions about transcripts, you have questions about doing your residency, you have questions about applications, and here's just a snapshot of if you click on college applications. There's a bunch of questions that they're like accordion drop-down style, but the first one might be, how do I submit an application in the application hub, which all of you are probably an expert on now after this, okay? So let's stop for just a second. I'm gonna go back into the chat and see if there are some other questions, okay? So I do see one question. Is there a place in the CFNC application process specifically to specify not to send? Yes, actually. I can't vouch for every single application because they all look a little bit different, but you will have an option usually on that application to say, do you want to send test scores or not? And so you have the option to say no in that section. Now, if you decide to send test scores later, that will be initiated through College Board's website or ACT's website, because that's how you would initially initiate sending the score. So even on CFNC, if you say, yes, I'm going to send, or I want you all to see my SAT and ACT scores, that just tells them that there's probably some scores coming. That doesn't actually do anything else, okay? Because you have to initiate sending those institutions on College Board's website or on ACT, okay? And you will see that question located within the application for that college, yes. So it should be there. I saw it this morning several times on different applications. All right, so let's talk about those fee waivers for just a minute here. So there's a lot of different types of fee waivers, and sometimes it can get confusing for students. The first thing I want to say is that while I have college application week listed here as a waiver, it is not technically a fee waiver, okay? So it's not like you're going to get an electronic or hand piece of paper that says this fee has been waived for this student. It's just that these colleges have opted to just not charge at all this week. Okay, so the fee is just waived for the week. It's gone for the week. You haven't qualified for an actual fee waiver. Okay, and you get to that by going to cfnc.org/C2C to find those institutions. Now there are some other waivers that you might be eligible for. With Common App, with the Coalition app, like I said, there's different ways you can apply to institutions, College Board, and ACT. So if you have questions about that, make sure that you talk to your school counselor or college advisor for help on those. All of these other waivers are need-based. This one this week is not need-based. Doesn't matter who you are, your income, just that you are applying as an incoming freshman to that institution. You don't need to have the counselor verify if you are eligible or not, because congratulations, you're all eligible, okay? And so that's a big piece of this week. So if you talk to your parents and they said, oh, it was fine, we'll pay those fee waivers, make sure they know that, one, a lot of those fee waivers are around, a lot of those fees, not waivers, sorry, a lot of those fees to apply to colleges are around $80 a college. So if you're applying to 5 or 6 institutions, that gets expensive quick. If even 2 or 3 of those institutions are waiving fees this week, do it. Save that money, okay? Very important. So, and some of these you have to qualify through your testing. So the SAT, which is through College Board, and ACT, to qualify for those fee waivers, it's related to qualifying for the fee waivers for the testing as well. But again, the college advisors and your counselors should be able to help you through that. Okay. All right, so let's go through just a few more slides. The formal part of the presentation is almost over. I'm going to go through a few more slides, and then I will take a look at the chat again. So on CFNC.org, you have this section on the left that says plan your future, okay? And within that, you have planning resources. Now, there's other things in here also. If you're still thinking of what you want to do for a career, there are career assessment information in Plan for a Career. But in the planning resources, there are some really good things in here I just wanted to point out in case you find any of this helpful. There's a financial literacy piece to help you understand, budgeting and money and all that stuff. We also have a link to the SAT, ACT prep, which is kind of the point of this slide as it relates to admissions. If you are considering having those scores reviewed by the institution for admissions and or scholarship purposes, you will likely want to make sure that you are taking advantage of free test prep. And that's what we have information on our website, is free test prep. And we link you out to websites like Khan Academy that have some really good test prep resources. Again, this is under Plan Your Future and then Planning Resources. You'll find some there. Like I mentioned before, some of you may still be looking for your major as you're considering where you are applying to, or considering how your career relates to a major that an institution has. Under Plan Your Future, you will find some information here about who has what majors. Okay, so we are in Plan Your Future and then Plan for College. And this is a way to start to look for which colleges have your major. So this is another thing that happens a lot during college application week, is students will sit down, maybe you applied to the one institution that you wanted to apply to, and now you're thinking, well, I wouldn't mind applying for more this week, especially if it's free to apply, but who has the program I'm looking for, okay? So if you go into CFNC.org, go to the plan section, right here, plan, and then go into Plan for College, there's something called Find a Program and Major. And you can look up your program or major, and it will list some institutions in our state that offer that. Keep in mind that it's not a perfect list, because a lot of institutions have the same type of program, but call it something a little bit different, okay? So it's not going to catch that. And also, there are a lot of programs that are very similar, but are called something different, and they're not the exact same program, but it's pretty similar. That's not going to catch that either. So sometimes I'll recommend that students, instead of just searching a program specifically, will browse a career cluster and just start to kind of go through that way to make sure that you are finding those institutions that offer what it is you are looking for, okay, as you do your applications this week and other times. So you can keep sending questions over in the chat. I'm going to go back to it and review in a second. And then after I look at the chat, you're welcome to unmute. You can ask questions verbally. Keep in mind, like I said before, Thursday night at 6 o'clock, we will have this same program again, and we will have Spanish services here as well to help any students that students and parents that prefer to have assistance in Spanish or have questions related to residency, as that relates to immigration, okay? And then next week on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and then repeated Thursday night at 6 o'clock, we will have a program that talks about, okay, I did some of these applications, now what's going to happen? What am I waiting for? What's the next step? So we'll talk about that, okay? So some good things in there. So I'm going to pop back over to the chat, and once I finish chat questions, I will stop the recording so that if anyone has any questions they want to ask verbally, it's not recorded. So a good question. Two good questions. One is about repeating fee waiver information. So let me go back up to that slide and I'll go over that. And I'll answer the other question first. Do we have to complete the FAFSA before submitting applications? That is a great question and we get it a lot. You do not need to think about the order for FAFSA and your college applications. It does not matter which one you do first. They are not related at all. The tiny way that they might be related is that if you do your FAFSA now and you list 2 different colleges that you want your FAFSA results sent to, but then you don't do your applications for months. Okay, the institution isn't actually going to run your offer letter without having an application on file initially. So if we think about data entry and how you become someone, in someone's computer system, it starts with the application. But it doesn't matter what it is. So if you do your FAFSA, let's say you do your FAFSA this weekend, you've got big plans to get that FAFSA form done, but you're not going to be applying to an institution for a few weeks. They are not part of college application week. That's completely fine. That's not a big deal at all. Residency can affect the order. I will say residency RDS, which you complete at ncresidency.org, because all of our community colleges across the state require the results of your RDS, which is called the residency certification number, or it goes by RCN. A required field on all of our community college applications is the RCN. So you can get through your community college applications. The last question is putting in your RCN. So if you haven't done that yet, you can save it, new residency, come back and plug that into those community college applications and then hit submit. So residency, you might want to do residency before community college applications. So I'm going to repeat the information about the fee waivers real quick. So keep in mind that all of the fees are waived for the colleges participating in college application week this week through 11:59 p.m. Friday. Okay, you don't need to have anyone verify it, your counselor. You don't have to have a fee waiver form. It's not like that. It's just that the colleges who are participating this week are flat out free to apply to. Okay. Now, if you are looking at an institution that is not free to apply to this week, or perhaps you start your application and then you move on with life, and then suddenly next week, Monday morning, you wake up and go, oh, I never finished the application and submitted it. It's not going to be free now. Oh no, that could happen. You may be eligible for other fee waivers that are based on need. Okay, the Coalition app has got fee waiver based on armed forces. I'm not familiar with what that is at all, but your counselor may be, or you can go to the Coalition app website to kind of see what's going on with that. So the other fee waivers, if you're using Common App to apply, for example, they have information about, need-based. Your counselor has to verify if you are eligible for that. If you took the SAT or ACT, or if you know that you would be eligible to take the SAT for free, maybe you didn't take it, but you'd be eligible. A good test on that is if you're eligible for free or reduced lunch. There are other need-based fee waivers available. Just make sure that you are checking with your school counselor or college advisor to help you with those. So again, that would be if you're applying to an institution that is not waiving fees this week, or if you miss it, this week with those applications. Okay, so I'm going to come back down to the last slide and kind of just leave that here for a minute in case you want to look at that. You all are welcome to continue sending questions over in the chat. The formal part of this presentation is over. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to still be here. Thank you all, in case anyone needs to jump off. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. I know it wasn't a very long presentation, but you didn't want it to be too long on purpose. So we were just really glad that you all are taking the time to learn about all of this and participating in college application week.